What is up, and happy Father's Day to everyone out there that's a dad. Hopefully, everyone's had a great and fantastic weekend. Um, Everybody, let me know. Give me a shout out. Let me know if the audio and everything's good. I've had a couple of little difficulties this afternoon, but trying to make sure all things are good to go. So, if y'all can, just let me know. Audio, picture, everything else good. I'll wait on you guys to respond back. All right. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Well, we've got a fun filled, jam packed show tonight. I apologize for Friday. I actually was going to go to my father's because I wanted to see him for Father's Day. And we were going to try to do the live stream from his house, but unfortunately, the internet got cut. And so I was just SOL. I was shucks out of luck. So that's why we chose to move it to Sunday night. So hopefully everyone, if you were looking forward to Friday, then you're going to get in on a Sunday night, a special Father's Day edition here with the show. So I've got a couple of things I want to talk about tonight. We are going to look at the Manticore update. We're also going to talk a lot about the Deus II update tonight. And I've got an amazing find that you guys have got to see. And I'm hoping that he's on here. I haven't seen him pop up yet, but hopefully he'll be here in a few minutes. I was with Surfside Dan, and he came across probably one of the most fantastic finds I've ever seen dug on camera. So I want to share that with you guys. I'm going to share it with you in just a few minutes. And Surfside Dan is here. He is in the house, the man of the hour. And I'm telling you guys, this is crazy what you're going to see. And it totally blew us away too. So I can't wait to share the video, and I've got it, and I'm going to show it up, pull it up in just a few minutes and let you guys see that. Let's give a couple of shout outs while we're getting started. Hello to Michael. Michael, my main man, Wisco Detect, always glad to have you here, helping moderate and take care of things for us. Digging Daryl, also glad to have you here. Metal Detecting with the CZ Kid. Happy Father's Day to you too. Joe Dirt, glad to have you in here, buddy. Great Lakes Adventures, thank you for being in the house with us tonight. James Bizzell, as always, happy Father's Day to you too, James. Chris, one of our big supporters, glad to have you in here too tonight, Chris. NC Rocket, glad to have you here. Bells, as always, love having Bells in the house. Ohio Fred, happy Father's Day to you too, Fred. Ricky Bennett, my good friend, glad to have you in here tonight with us. Of course, I think I've gotten through everybody. Let's see here. I'm scrolling through, and I think that's it. But yeah, we've got 28 people in the house, and I know there's going to be more joining in as we go through the night. So let me set the stage for all of this, because this was just unbelievable. So Surfside Dan and I decided to meet up on Thursday morning. And one of the things that ended up happening was I called him real early, and I said, "Hey, Dan," I said, "look, the Minelab has released the update for the Manticore. You need to go ahead and update it and bring it with you, because we were going to go on a hunt together." And I said, "So maybe we can test it out over a couple of targets." So that's what really started this. And so we get out there and we start playing around with some of the new features on the Manticore and swinging the Deus II and the Manticore back and forth together. And so we decided to check some targets. So this is the first target that Dan checks. Okay. So, and it's just crazy what it ends up being. But it's the first target he decided to check. I swing over it. He swings over it. And the rest is just mind blowing, is to say the least. But I was so excited, and you're gonna hear the excitement in my voice whenever we dig this. But it was just amazing. So I want to share the video, and Surfside Dan is on here, and he might throw in a couple of words on the side after we get done with watching the video. But this is what I want to lead off with tonight, because again, it was just an amazing find. So I want to share that video first. So let's watch the video and let's see Surfside Dan in action. Manticore, and we've got the Deus II here, and we're checking some targets. Dan has got the Manticore. He's swinging over it. He's telling me that it's showing up non-ferrous. Dan, swing over it with the Manticore. And he's getting a, I'm gonna stand over here on the other side of Dan. He's getting a 5650, but he's got a red.
Black, but
let's see, circle around on it, Dan, the way you were originally.
There it is now, turning.
Okay, so he's getting a non-ferrous, and y'all see the numbers showing up black. Is this a mixed target?
No,
is this
red,
or is this a big piece of iron? So, and I've got the Deus II. So hang on, Dan, I'm gonna swing over it with the Deus II, and I want y'all to listen to it with the Deus II. And y'all hear the iron. I get a 0405. Y'all hear the little, it's coming through. Now I get a 7173, but it's a real crazy signal, sort of cut signal. And it's back at all iron. So my guess is it's big iron. Dan's gonna dig this and we're gonna look at it. I think Dan just hit it. Yeah, I gotta get Dan a good shovel.
Well, I got another shovel.
Yeah. Let's see what Dan gets out of there. So yeah, there's a piece of brick Dan just got out of the hole. Some oyster shell, which always a good sign. Maybe Dan gets lucky. It's a big old piece of iron, I'm afraid. You get it? Let's see what he gets though, guys.
Oh, holy shit.
Oh my gosh! What the heck?
Holy Christ.
Dan just dug a pistol. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Now it was iron, guys, but what an iron find that is. A pistol. Oh my goodness. That is unfreaking believable. Dan. Wow, it's got to be a Colt 45. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I don't know. It's unbelievable.
Oh my gosh.
Bullets in it. I'll have to put that under.
Check that out, guys.
Damn.
He dug a gun. That is so unbelievable. Let me get a picture of this. Oh my gosh, what the heck? So we were out here comparing iron signals, and this dude comes out here and digs a gun. Oh my gosh, Dan, that is so cool. Guys, he digs a gun. Is that not freaking unbelievable? Way to go, dude. That's good. Yeah, you gotta pound it. An iron signal turns into a gun. And hey, this is why you sometimes dig those iron signals on these old sites. So Dan comes out of here with a masterpiece. And I'm not real sure what type of gun it is. It could be a Colt 45. Wow. Never have I seen somebody dig a gun before. And we just saw it. We just saw it.
Wow, I can't wait to show you guys this one. This one is crazy. This is a crazy find.
Okay, so y'all got to see it. I'm sorry if it was a little bit jumpy. Yeah, don't worry. Dan went back in and he checked that hole thoroughly. He dug every single little piece that he could possibly get out of that hole. So y'all saw it. That was just an amazing find, so unexpected. And Dan goes through and he digs a pistol, and he told you what it is. It's an 1858 Le Fachot. I'm assuming that's how you say it. Navy model 12 millimeter pinfire used by the Confederates and the Yankees. And he dug it off of one of my sites. So I get a little bit of credit, Dan, for putting you on that site. So, and it all started because we were testing the Minelab in the Deus II, and we probably never would have dug that target because you could hear quite obviously that it was iron. But we were just seeing, seeing the red numbers, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. And here goes Dan digging this gun. So I was just blown away by it. And I know Dan was super excited. He's in the process of getting it cleaned up. And again, he dug every single piece out of that hole to make sure that he didn't leave anything. I am going to have that video up on my channel too, so you can watch it in its full entirety. But just a crazy, amazing find by Dan. And I was so excited for him and just so excited to actually be there and witness it coming out of the ground. And that's just, that was just crazy. Definitely crazy. Yes, that was the other thing. So we started off checking that property with the GPR, and that's what we were going to do. And then it turned into, oh my gosh, let's go in here and just start digging iron signals after he dug that gun. So just a really, really, really immaculate find. And kudos to Dan. And I cannot wait to see him when he gets it cleaned up. I'm hoping he's going to share that with us, and we'll get it up on the channel once he gets it finished cleaning. He's going to be out of town for a few weeks, I believe. So hopefully maybe in the next month or so, he'll have that cleaned up and maybe we can take another good look at it. But again, he's saying it's an 1858 Le Fachot French pistol used in the Civil War. And, what an amazing find for Dan. And just super, super cool. And we were just blown away by it. But kudos to Dan. Congratulations, Dan. Thanks for going with me that day. We had such a great time. We met some amazing people too that day, and it was just a lot of fun. It was just he and I hanging out. We eventually did start using the GPR, and I've got some video of that. We never really found anything, although we did get one anomaly that was really, really, really deep. And I might, if I get a chance, I might put up a video with that to show those anomalies being really deep on the GPR. GPR is a really cool machine. It's a very expensive piece of equipment, and Dan and I were fortunate enough to be able to use one on this property. But yeah, we dug a deep target on a couple of those digs, but nothing really came out of them. But we also found some deep stuff, but we couldn't reach them because they were 7 foot deep. I think one was 7, I think one was 10, and another one was 12. And, who knows what those targets are. So maybe we can go back in there with a backhoe and maybe dig some of those things up. So, again, I hope everyone is having a fantastic weekend. And I did want to share that find with you because I just thought it was just super cool to see that actually dug. And I knew a lot of you guys, how many people in here have dug an actual pistol? Think about that for a minute. I'm sure there might be a few people. Yes. Anybody? Has anybody dug a pistol? Yes. Chiggers got me too, Dan. The chiggers tore us both up. We had welts and little red marks all over us from digging on that site. So Dan's exactly right. Yeah. Thank you, Prospectors Cash. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I did want to share that with you guys because that was just that was just an amazing find by Dan, and I was so excited that I got to witness it. Yeah, so a lot of people, and hey, digging Daryl, I'm like you. I've only dug toy pistols, and he comes to one of my sites and digs a real pistol. So I was just like, oh, what the heck is happening? But super excited for Dan. And again, I can't wait to see it once it's cleaned up and he gets it electrolysis and shows it. But yeah, I've never seen a gun actually dug or a pistol actually dug, and what it was there for. And he and I have a couple of theories. I'm gonna mention this, and then we're gonna move on. But he and I have a couple of theories. The theory that I have is that it was possibly put into the walls of this house, and once this house fell down, whatever, people forgot about it because during Reconstruction, they weren't allowed to have weapons or guns, and so that might have been the case. It could have been dropped, but I highly doubt it. So I think it's something along those lines. I mean, we don't really know how it ended up there. I have dug a one Civil War button off of that site. It was a general service button, and I dug a 1785 Spanish half real, and I dug an 1818 U.S. large cent. So this place was used pretty good for almost probably 100 years at least. So a lot of stuff still in the ground. Hopefully they'll move some of that dirt. Maybe we can discover some more really neat artifacts like that pistol off of that site. Yeah, Dan said that the gun was not loaded. So yeah, he had it cleaned out, the barrel and the cylinders cleaned. And when he looked inside, it was not loaded at the time. So good. Jason Dunn says he dug a 38 special, which is cool. Anytime you dig a pistol or a gun or a musket or something like that, you just don't see that done very often. And you got to think that those types of targets are just so hard to find. And people really hung on to their guns because that was their livelihood in most cases. And, they probably hung on to them to use them for hunting and other things too, and for defense as well. So I just got to think that would have been something hard to lose, especially during the 1850s or 1860s. To leave that behind, we don't really know why. So it's a good history mystery. So anyway, but when Dan gets that cleaned up, I look forward to sharing that with everyone. So let's talk about a couple of other things too. Yes, please hit that like button. If you haven't already, I would greatly appreciate it. And again, for those of you that are just now joining in, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Hopefully you've had a great and wondrous day and been able to enjoy time with your families. But again, that gun find was really cool. And Dan gets to look at that gun on Father's Day. But hope everyone had a great and fantastic day today. So we're going to talk a little bit about the XP Deus II, the 1.10 update, and some of the programs that I've been using and some of the ones that maybe you guys would like to share. Would love to hear you guys' thoughts on what you're using and that kind of stuff. And then we're also going to look a little bit at the Manticore update because that's what Dan and I were really doing. We were trying to see what some of these new features would do on this really heavy iron sight. And of course, you could hear the iron. If you paid special attention in that video, you could hear the iron in the ground. Not only was the iron ringing up around that gun, but there was also iron all around that gun. And so that made it really, really, really interesting. And, Dan was using the Manticore. I was using the Deus II. Both of us were sort of saying it was iron. Dan got a couple of black numbers. I got a couple of high audio numbers with some good numbers coming up too as well. And that's what really led us to make that find. But we were actually sort of just trying to test out both machines. So I do want to look at both of the updates and do just some sort of slight comparison, what we saw out in the field, what I've seen as far as other people have been posting, And we're going to actually look at the Manticore, the Minelab website, and we're going to look at what those features were. So that's going to be the gist of what we discussed tonight. So I did want to share that and go through that. So again, thank you, Sonny, for the super sticker. Appreciate it. $4.99. Remember, all contributions, anything that you guys donate goes strictly back into the channel. It helps me with things like my new camera and some other things that I've done and so on. So we are going to, let's talk first about the XP Deus II. So I think we got sharpshooters in the house. Appreciate Sharpshooter being in here. Just shout out to some other people. Brad Wilson, glad to have you in here. Ski Searcher, thank you. Southern GA Dog says he dug a late 1800s cat gun. And me too. That's all I've done so far. So yes, those are mainly the ones that most of us get. We get the old Western cap guns. So to see a real one actually being dug is pretty cool. Surfside Dan says the screen was painting a lot of target and non-ferrous area and bleeding into the ferrous area. And that's exactly what we saw. So Make It Work says hi, TN Sharpshooter. TN Sharpshooter's in the house. Sharpshooter, I think, has been testing a lot of guns this weekend. I hadn't seen much metal detecting videos, but he can give his input as well as we go through some of this stuff. So real quick, so one thing that I've been using a lot of, I want to talk about this, is sensitive full tones, which I've worked with most of this past week. I don't know how many of you have used sensitive full tones. If you have, then just tell me yes or no over in the comments. Say, yes, I do use sensitive full tones or something like that. What have I seen with sensitive full tones? And I'm going to be honest with you. I think that sensitive full tones does very, very well at unmasking. I think that in this site, which you just saw that we dug the pistol from, I did see some unmasking capabilities. I put up a video earlier in the week where I actually was sort of chasing a target, but the target was mixed in with a lot of iron and was pretty difficult. I mean, anybody would have struggled with that target, and I could have gave up on it, but I didn't. And I think that sensitive full tones actually helped me in that situation in the unmasking process. I've also dug a couple of other targets too that were non-ferrous off of that site with sensitive full tones. And I think it performed very, very well. Now, the question that a lot of you are probably wondering, is that going to be my go-to program? And I'm still on the fence about that. And I'm going to say probably not at this point. I still enjoy fast. I think fast is more stable. I think that sensitive full tones might be just a little bit hot. But I do believe that it has a slight advantage in unmasking capabilities. And that's just what I've seen. So some of you are putting in here that you like sensitive full tones. Yes, it was. When the 1.0 came out, it was a struggle. I think so, but it's still 1.0 filters on this. And I almost feel like they did something a little bit different with it, but I can't tell what it is. And Sharpshooter has tested it, and he's the one who sort of put me on it and said, hey, you need to try it. And I had started off using it, then I got away from it. Then I went back to the lot and I used it again. And it worked really well. What I am seeing, and I think Sharpshooter and Michael Coley, who's in here, he can attest to this. But what we are seeing is that this thing is showing some crazy unmasking capabilities when you run the silencer on 1 or 2. When you get up to 3, it still does well, but it seems like once you get above 3, it basically it doesn't work as well for whatever reason. I don't know what that is, but 1 and 2 tends to give you the best unmasking capabilities, and Sharpshooter can attest to this. He's on here, and Sharpshooter just gave a big donation of $100. Thank you, Sharpshooter. I appreciate you, buddy, so much. So again, it gave, using 1 and 2, it really seems to enhance the masking capabilities of it. And you could run it at 0, but that might be a little bit tough. I am going to say this too: running sensitive full tones, I think really does really well on a site that you've really hunted really hard. And maybe you don't have that much target or that many targets left in the ground. You want to go back in and sort of check out some of those iffy signals. You may find that some of those iffy signals using sensitive full tones will help you unmask. So again, yes, sharpshooter. Sharpshooter, you're so awesome, buddy. I appreciate you. Now, Brooke, sharpshooter. So, but sharpshooter is exactly right on this. It does give you better unmasking capability running that silencer between 1 and 2. I run the audio filter at 1. I run my pitch tones. I run I told you the audio filter I run at 1, but I run high square audio. And I got great results using it in that way. And I dug a couple of buttons off of that site, just simply because, again, Sharpshooter recommended me trying this, and he was dead on with these things. So again, you can do you can do whatever you like, but play around with sensitive full tones. If you haven't tried it, I really believe that it is an excellent, excellent program. It does give you a little edge in unmasking. I still like Fast as my go-to program in a relic site or in a heavy iron site. But after I maybe hunted it with Fast, I would highly recommend maybe checking some of those other targets in sensitive full tones and running that silencer at 1. Try the pitch and try the high square. I love that combination. I think that works really, really well. And I've actually done it with coins too, and it worked really, really well in some cases. So again, it does extremely well. So what do you guys think? Sensitive full tones. I mean, I've seen some people say that that's what they use. Does anybody use anything different than sensitive full tones and Fast? Because those are the two that I mainly go to. Brad Wilson said, sharpshooter, he just spent $100 at Denny's for lunch. So Prospector's Cash is saying sensitive full tones, gold jewelry, Texas tubing, river, silencer 1, offset 10, discount, discrimination 6.4. So that sounds like a good setup too, there, Prospector's Cash. Now, I did not run full tones. I like pitch tones. So, again, that works pretty good. Wisco Tech is using Beach. Okay. Thank you, Rachel, for being here tonight. We appreciate you. Wisco Tech, you said Beach P. Explain one time for me. I missed that. Wisco Tech says, if he showed in his last video, you lose great signals with the silencer above 3, right? And that's what Sharpshooter saw too. So both of those guys are basically saying the same thing, and I agree with them. I think 1 or 2, it runs really well. Now, again, if you're using sensitive full tones, you are going to see, you might see that you dig a little more iron. I think Fast is maybe not quite as hot. It runs a little more stable than sensitive full tones, but I do like the unmasking capability of sensitive full tones. So again, awesome program. If you want to try it out on one of your sites and see what you get. If you're going on the beach, and this is another good recommendation too, and again, I talk to Sharpshooter a good bit. I talk to Calabash a good bit. And I talk to Michael Coley a good bit, who's on here. And one thing that we've seen too, if you're a beach hunter, one great thing that you can do out on the beach is if you're using that beach sensitive program, which I know a lot of you use, that beach sensitive program, if you get over a target, let's say it's ringing up in the 70s. okay, because this is my common target that I see quite a bit on the beach. Let's say it's ringing up at 74 or 75. One thing that Sharpshooter has discovered and some others have discovered is that you can flip over to your dive program. And that dive program is going to give you a truer ID on some deep targets, on targets at depth. And that way you'll know whether it's a gold ring or if it's a zinc penny. So if you flip over to that dive program and check those targets, they're going to help you out a lot because it's going to be a truer ID showing up on the window. So if it's a gold target and it stays in that 74 range, then you're going to know, but if it rings up in the high 80s, then you're going to know, hey, that's probably a zinc penny and maybe I don't want to dig it. So if you do get into that dilemma out on the beach, it's not uncommon to flip over to the dive program and use it as well and see if that helps with some of those targets. So you can just flip over real quick, or you can have another program set up with the settings you want to flip over, maybe set in dive or beach sensitive, whichever one you're using, and you can check those targets out. So that's another good thing too. Yes, Wisco Tech says he likes beach sensitive with pitch. Metal detecting with the CZ Kid. I have a hard time setting the XP Deus II on the wet beach or in water. Diving is the calmest, but so far the other beach programs false a bit too much, even back off. So do you have a lot of iron on your beach, CZ? I know you've probably told me this before, but that could be interesting. So Rachel's adventures, that's interesting. What to take? We're talking about the XP Deus II, Rachel, if you're talking to me, but again, beach sensitive, it can be a little bit tricky on targets. I don't think the ID is as stable, just like CZ Kid was saying. Dive program tends to run a little more stable. But if you want to check a target to make sure and see if it could possibly be gold or could possibly be a zinc penny, you could actually flip over to the dive program from beach sensitive, and it could help you out in trying to figure out that target. And again, Sharpshooter has explained that too. So, and he says on wet sand, if ID jumps 8+ points using dive program after getting ID using beach sensitive, not a gold ring. And that's what I just said, Sharpshooter. So yeah, he's all over that. And I apologize, my screen is going wonky tonight. That's my camera. But yeah, Sharpshooter's all on that, and he knows very, very well because that's what he's been testing with that beach sensitive program. So he's seen that. Sharpshooter says metal detecting with the CZ Kid. I agree. Metal detecting says I have removed the red plug and hear a pop when the RC equalizes. I would not leave the red plug in, and they're talking about the diving portion of it, I believe. So, and I don't dive, so I'm not as familiar with the Deus II for the diving. So again, those are just my observations so far with the 1.10 update. I wanted to share that with you. Again, I'm using FAST right now as my go-to program when I get out on a relic site. I love using FAST. I love using pitch audio. I love using pitch tones, high square audio. My discrim is at 6.8. My reactivity varies. Usually I'll start off at 2.5 and then I'll switch up to 3 or 4 if the iron is real heavy and really thick. And I tend to do really well with that. Another great thing that you can do with sensitive full tones too, and this was another feature that I got, or another thing that I got from Sharpshooter, is you can notch out from 0 to 10. You might even want to notch out from 0 to 20 or 0 to 30. But it tends to give a better stable ID when you do the notch or implement the notch in sensitive full tones. So that's another thing that some of you guys might be able to try too. So again, check that out. If you haven't tried it, that's just a suggestion. And those things have worked for me. Now, again, my ground and my soil is a lot different from maybe some of you guys. So it could be a lot different in your area, but sensitive full tones and mop up duty definitely works really well. And I just like fast right now. I really like deep high conductor in general, but I haven't played around with them as much with the new update yet. But I do look forward to using those and trying to figure out, what would be the best settings in those programs as well. So let's see here. Sharpshooter says prospector cache, not a good idea. Could be hard on the speaker. And that's from Sharpshooter, prospector's cache. And he said, thanks for the answer. I've been removing the red plug, but that is a pain. Okay. Metal detecting eye notch in full tones. I think he thinks it does do better. I notch 0.5 to 30. Right. And that's what I just said. And Sharpshooter has pretty much confirmed that implementing that notch on full tones and sensitive full tones definitely helps out with the ID on that machine. So there you go. Sensitive full tones. Give it a shot. And let me know, guys. I mean, if there's another program out there that you're getting good results with and some good settings, don't hesitate to share that, because again, what I'm seeing might be something different from what you're seeing in your area. And there may be a program and settings that work better in your area that aren't necessarily working as well in mine. So again, let me know if there's something out there that you guys use. David says, will you use fast when relic hunting over clean, non-iron ground? You could. I might actually use general when I'm over clean ground, or maybe even possibly deep high conductor. But again, most of the places I've been in are heavily loaded with iron nails, those colonial square nails. So I've been mainly stuck in fast, but I look forward to finding some clean open ground to run that. But you can use fast and clean open ground too. It won't hurt to run it that way, and you can still find stuff with it. I found tons of stuff over the last 2 weeks just using this new update and running fast. And then I flipped over to sensitive full tones, and I still found stuff. And I found stuff that I don't, and I should have, and Sharpshooter scolded me about this, but I didn't compare it all the time with fast. And I wish I would have, just to see, but I don't think that I would have gotten some of these targets if I was running with fast. That's just what I think. I think that sensitive full tones actually did help in that unmasking department. And, that's just my opinion from what I've seen. And you guys can take that with a grain of salt. Use it if you want. No harm, no foul if you don't use it or you want to use something else. Sharpshooter says too, remember, even going to higher altitudes with the red plug could cause speaker to act funny, and red plug needs to be removed so pressure can equalize and take possible pressure off of the speaker. And I'm missing y'all's conversation, Sharpshooter. So I'm glad you're on here answering it, because I can't get to some of these questions. Yes, please hit that like button. We're sharing information tonight. Michael Coley confirms sensitive full tones is pretty deep on open non-iron ground as well. Right. Sensitive full tones works really well in those situations. So that's pretty much my breakdown of what I'm using right now with the XP Deus II. Fast, sensitive full tones. Those have been my two programs that I think are working the best in the relic department. Give those a shot. If you've got questions or you want some information about the settings I use, do not hesitate to leave a comment in my videos, and I'll be glad to help you out any way I can. And maybe I'll even make a video too with some of those settings. I think I mentioned them on the last couple of videos, but some people may not have seen those videos. But again, if you need help, be glad to help. Sharpshooter is also a great source of information. Michael Coley, who's on here, great source of information. And of course, Calabash too, also a great source of information. Ohio Fred says he's been using the Minelab General Coin Program for coin finds. Yeah, and we had Minelab on here last week. Minelab did a fantastic job with showing his program, his coin program, talked a lot about it. I have not tried it yet, but I do have a site that's loaded with coins. So I look forward to putting that in and trying that maybe on that site. And it should be a good one too. So that would be, that'll be good to see. We'll try that for sure. So any other questions before we move on from the Deus 1.10 update? Anybody else got anything that you want to share too? Sharpshooter says he feels like Mr. Goodwrench. Thank you, Sharpshooter. I appreciate you being here, buddy. Metal Detecting with the CZ Kid says he used Scott's mental metal coin program the other day and pulled a Merc out in Heavily Hunted Park. Enjoyed that. That's good to hear. I'll definitely share that with Scott too, because he'll be glad to know that his program is working. And a couple of you left some nice comments about the program that I've been suggesting too. So mental metal coin program, great for coins. I use sensitive full tones using that coin program. There you go. All right, Prospectors Cash, good. Is the time clock working after the update? I think you still have to go in and set it. Again, I've never messed with that. That was something we were talking about last week. So Sharpshooter might be able to answer that one for sure. So let's just talk just real briefly about the things with the Manticore. And I don't want to spend a ton of time, but let's look at some of those settings. So I'm going to add this up to my screen. So these were some of the new things that were added for those people that have the Manticore. And I know most everybody on here is a Deus II user, but there are some people on here that are Manticore users, and they might can elaborate even more. Again, Surfside Dan and I were testing out the Manticore with the new update. But of course, the main feature that they added was the stabilizer setting. And this stabilizer feature was supposed to help get rid of falsing targets, especially nails. And I know Iffy Signals had up a video a couple of days ago. I think he put it up showing that stabilizer setting, and it looks to be doing a good job. The only question, we really don't know is how bad or how is it going to affect the unmasking capability of this machine. So again, I don't have the Manticore. That was Dan's Manticore, and I've used it a few times, and he was using it the other day. But it did seem to calm the machine down for what we saw on this site. And so I think, that's going to be good. They got some soft key shortcuts. I know was a big deal. And Prospectors Cash says, what's a Manticore? So the soft keys, the shortcuts that they had put in there, they put in a flashlight, they put in a way to control the brightness, they put in sensitivity boost, I'm reading from this, a clear ID map, a speaker mute, recovery speed, and frequency. So they've put in some ways to access some things and make things more user-friendly with these soft key shortcuts, which is a great idea. The underwater headphone boost for you guys that are divers, they've enhanced audio weights with underwater boost to increase the headphone volumes, because naturally when you get underwater, sometimes you can't hear. So again, you would have to use waterproof headphones in order for that to happen. They've got language customization, general stability enhancements, for the beach mode ground balance on dry sand, search mode default settings, wireless audio connection, stability improvements, and more. Again, they enhanced the goldfield search mode. If there's anybody on here that searches for those little small gold nuggets, take advantage of greater sensitivity to small gold with the power of the Manticore. So there we go. So you guys that are Manticore users, how many of you have used the update? I know we've got a couple of Manticore users on here. How many of you have used the update? If there's anybody on here that's a Manticore user, I know we've got a few. There's a couple of people that own both machines, the Deus II and the Manticore. Rachel's Adventure says we are thinking of getting a Manticore. And the Manticore is a great machine. Sharpshooter has been testing the Manticore, And Sharpshooter can elaborate too on it if you got a question about it. Sharpshooter says too that underwater boost works with waterproof headphones when wading right. And it says that up here on the screen, Sharpshooter, with that. Prospector's Cash says, my dive buddy sent his Manticore for repairs. Housing is leaking. You're the first person I've heard say that, Prospector's Cash, but thanks for sharing. So again, Sharpshooter says that he has for a long time, months, with the Manticore. He's referring to that. Surfside Dan says it's potluck when I go hunting on which machine I will use. And I know Surfside Dan has used the Manticore quite frequently on the beach. Brad Wilson is a Manticore user. Brad, have you updated and have you tried out the new update? We'll see what he says. And we've got another special guest in here, Mr. Gregory White. Michael Coley says, hey, Gregory. You got a good last name, Gregory. Surfside Dan says he loves the Deus II and the Manticore. And again, the Manticore, I think if they keep tweaking it, they're going to find the right formula for it eventually. And I think it's going to be a phenomenal machine. So Brad says, I just updated my Manticore, but have been busy having fun with the new hover cam. Okay. So we'll see what happens with the Manticore. The stabilizer setting is an interesting feature. The only question I have is that, how is it going to, what is it going to do to the unmasking capabilities of the machine when you start messing around with that stabilizer setting? And I think Sharpshooter said this best when he was talking about it in one of his videos, that, it's sort of like silencer. It's like some other features that we've seen on other machines. But the stabilizer is just a way to sort of get rid of some of that falsing iron. If he said that he went out with it, he didn't see a lot of falsing, and it got rid of a lot of those nails that he was having trouble with before. So Iffy Signals also is sort of clarifying that. Northwest Outdoors says, I have both, use them both. I updated, found a couple of silvers with it yesterday. Okay, great, Northwest Outdoors. And, again, and I've said this quite frequently, I love the screen on the Manticore. I love the audio on the Manticore. It's just got a pure sound, especially over silver. And I know Northwest Outdoors could definitely agree with me on that. And Sharpshooter says, buy both and swing one in one hand and one in the other. Yeah, you could do that, Sharpshooter. Especially if you got some money to throw down, you could definitely have both and take them out and use them. We'll see. So, but again, Northwest says if he has a separation video he put out this morning, that might be the one I watched. I don't know when he put it out, but yeah, I think it's doing better. I just don't know. I don't know where the cutoff line is as far as that stuff goes with that stabilizer setting. How much is too much and how much is not enough in some cases. So again, Surfside Dan says, I like the tones on the Deus over the Manticore. Okay. Well, I'm used to Deus II tones, but I was used to Equinox tones and Minelab tones. Over silver, I really like the way the Minelab machine sounds, but I love my Deus II, so y'all know how that goes. Rachel says, I got to head out now. I know where I come if I have any questions. Thank you, Rachel. We appreciate it. Thanks for being here tonight. And thank you. And have a great rest of your weekend, what's left of it. Michael says, I like the tones better on the Deus II, Dan. Okay. So Michael's agreeing with that as well. Chris said, good night, Rachel. And let's see how many people. We got 55 people in the house. Let's flip this back over here. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about the Manticore. We've talked about the Deus II. Again, both machines, and I've said this over and over and over again, both machines are really good machines, and it really all comes down to personal preference in a lot of these cases. There are some cases where maybe the Manticore will do better than the Deus II. And there's some cases where the Deus II is going to do better than the Manticore. That's just the way it is. But again, like I said, we're so lucky that we do have these two great companies that are sort of battling it out right now. And that only makes our life much better, having two excellent choices in these top tier machines with the XP Deus II and with the Minelab Manticore. So again, that gives us a lot of options, and there are some other options too down there at lower price range. You can get a WS6, operates the same as the Deus II. You can get that in that $700, $800 price range. You can get the Equinox, the 700 or the 900. And then we've got the Nocta Legend. So we've got a lot of great choices out there for machines right now. And if you don't want to go all out, you got the Minelab Xterra Pro, which I highly recommend for $269. The only problem again is the headphones, but hopefully they're going to get that. Settled up real soon. Prospector's Cash says, my dive buddy found some great things. Love screen. It seems to work as good as the Deus II underwater, but he is without a Techner until he gets the leak fixed. I'm loaning him a Deus II. Okay, there you go. Joe Dirt says, I think the Deus II tones are much sharper than the Manticore. They are. They're a lot sharper. I'm just saying over silver coins and high conductor targets, that Minelab machine, I don't know. It sounds really good over those silver targets. Joe Dirt says, I think the Deus II tones are much sharper. Said that. Yes, hit that like button. I've hit it 6 times. Thank you so much, Chris. Appreciate it. Let's see what else we got here. I have my WSA6 on my other shaft. I have 2 XP Deus II suddenly, right? Yeah, and don't forget, when you get a Deus II, if you got the WS6 headphones, you can turn that into another machine and have 2 machines. Just get you another set of headphones. And speaking of that, this is one thing that we'll talk about, and we'll go for a few more minutes. But summer's coming up. If you guys are interested, and you get into really hot weather, the WSA2 headphones are a great option for hot weather because you can remove that puck. You can put that horseshoe audio jack on the back of that puck, and then you've got a wireless set of headphones that you can just plug in another little set and have hanging down, little earbuds, and you can just have the WSA puck hanging from your neck. You could have it on your shoulder, whatever you want to do, and then put in a real lightweight pair of headphones, or you can just use the WSA2s. So I do have a lot of great things on my Amazon site, on my store site. And I'm actually going to be making a video on that this week, showing you some setups that you could possibly use for the summertime for those of you that will be doing some beach hunting. But the WSA2 headphones are a great, great, great option if you don't already have those. Michael Coley says, hey, I use the WS6 Master a lot. Yes, and that's what Michael and I were using on one of our hunts. We've been using that 13-inch coil. I really love the 13-inch coil. I just never thought I'd be using a big coil, but I love it. Love it for separation. I love it for coverage. It just does a great all-around job. Now, let's talk about coils for a minute, since I sort of brought that up, and Michael brought that up by bringing up the WS6. The 13, the 11, and the 9 are all great coils. And I don't think you could go wrong. If you've got the 9, you're getting really good separation. If you've got the 11, you're getting really good separation. If you have the 13, you're getting really good separation. The 13 is really good for ground coverage and covering more area. Would you find things with the 13 that you would not find with the 9? Probably so. If you've hunted a site to death with that 9-inch coil and then you go back to it with the 13-inch coil, you're probably going to still find some things that you missed with the 9-inch coil. And the same thing with the 11. Could you find something with the 13 that the 11 missed? And so, yes, you would see, you would definitely find other targets that you could have missed with either one of those coils. The ideal situation would be to own all 3. But I would recommend, if you've hunted a site with one particular size coil, like the 9, go back in there with a bigger coil, with either the 11 or the 13. And I think you'll be amazed at what happens. I think you'll find some targets that you could have possibly missed because those coils are just they're doing different things. And so the 11 and the 13 are great options. The 9's a great option. So take advantage of those things too, and look at those different coil sizes. And I know we've talked about this before. Dirt Devil Detecting says, I'm using my WS6 with the 11 and the remote with the 9, right? And so what I had mine set up with Dirt Devil Detecting, I had mine set up with the remote. I had it set up with the 9, but with the WS6 models that I had one with the 11 and one with the 13. And I like the 13 with the WS6 because it just gives you a lighter feel. So again, WS6, 13s and 11s are great. And I love that setup. It just makes that so much lighter. Wisco Tech says, I really want that 13 when I get the money. It's next on my list. About to buy the Nemo for diving. Way to go, Wisco Tech. Well, you're going to do great with that. Prospector's Cash says, I set my control box up with the 9-inch coil on dive shaft for diving most of my hunting. I use WS6 Master on regular shaft and 11-inch coil for land. Bought one machine and got 2 detectors. There you go, Prospector's Cash. That's exactly what it's about. When you get that WS6 model, then you can definitely turn it into 2 machines and you can go. And, that's a great setup with the dive shaft with the 9-inch coil. But I really like the 9 and real heavy iron. The separation capabilities of it, I think, are great and outstanding. But again, all 3 of these coils separate so good. That's what's just so amazing to me. Whether you got the 11 or whether you have the 13, they both do a fantastic job in separation. Yes, and CZ Kid's right too. Yeah, the 9 is surprisingly deep. You wouldn't think a 9-inch coil would hit deep. But it does. It really does. And CZ Kid's exactly right. Joe Dirt says, the first thing I noticed with the Deus II was great separation. And that's exactly right. You get really good separation. And it doesn't matter what coil it is, guys. I'm just going to be honest. I thought that the 13 would not separate that well. And boy, was I fooled. And Michael Coley, who's on here, he can attest to that. I did really well in a very thick iron field. Using that 13-inch coil, and it performed really good. Surfside Dan says, I could bring my Deus II with the 9-inch, and you could use the 13 and run the same settings and see if the 13 gives you a depth advantage. Well, Surfside Dan, I got all 3. I don't know if you're talking to somebody else, but yeah, I think that the 13 is definitely going to be deeper, but the 9 is deeper than what you think for sure. Yeah, I've dug some deep targets with that 9-inch coil. But separation for both of those coils is just outstanding for sure. So yeah, so I wanted to talk about coils, and I'm glad Michael sort of brought that up. But the 13, the 9, the 11, all 3 great coils. If you got all 3, I would encourage you, after you've hunted a site one way with those coils, to go back in and try different coils in those sites, because I think you're going to find that you miss some things. And I know, some of our sites, just like the site that I've been hunting, I mean, look what just came out of the ground with that last video. I've hunted that site for 4 years, and Dan goes in and digs a gun. So, there's just, it's just, the 13, the 9, the 11 are all going to perform slightly differently in certain situations. And that's why I encourage you, to check out your sites with either, a different coil or different settings. Greeny Meanie brought up a good point. Is the 13-inch deeper in an iron-infested site? And the answer to that is I really don't know. I think with the 13, I think what you're seeing is you're seeing more coverage. So you're going to find more targets. But is it deeper? I don't know. In an open field, yes, definitely. In an iron site, I'm not real sure. Not real sure on that. I've dug some deep targets with it, but not like deep. Like most of the targets that I've been digging have been, maybe 10, I think 10 or 12 inches might have been the most that I've gotten out of it in an iron sight. But it is definitely deeper in an open field. I think the 11, it might have maybe a half inch more than the 11, but the 11 is a deep coil. And I've seen that out on the beach as well with the 11 inch. So again, but separation to me is just so much more important than depth. And, that's what I mainly go for. But I would have never dreamed that the 13 would have separated the way it's doing. So again, Northwest Outdoor says, I hunt heavy brush a lot. I wish both the Deus II and the Manticore offered a small coil. I end up using my 800 part of the day yesterday. And you might see a smaller coil. I'm hopefully that XP is going to come out with an elliptical coil like they did with the high frequency coils for the Deus I, but we'll see. Maybe they'll have one out real soon, and we'll have a small coil to add to that arsenal. Prospector's Cash says, I was told by XP email that a smaller coil probably wouldn't happen due to the amount of electronics in the coil. Okay. Well, I don't know. Like I said, XP has not said anything to me about a small coil. So, that could be the case. Depth is not important. In a heavy iron sight, separation is the way to go. You're right, CZ Kid. And Michael Coley says, you only get so deep in an iron. That's true. It's hard to tell. That's why I said I really don't know as far as being in an iron infested site. I do know that it is pretty deep within an open field. But in an iron infested site, I don't know. Surfside Dan says the 13 would be good for the beach, right? And I've used my 13 on the beach, and I love it. I love the 13 on the beach, especially with that WS6 setup. Greeny Meanie says, usually iron makes you lose depth. That's why I wouldn't run a 13-inch in iron. Well, the thing is, Greeny Meanie, one thing that I've seen in a lot of my iron sites is that most of my targets aren't that deep. So you could go in and you can dig some of that iron out and then go back over it with the 13. Maybe that's the way to go. But I've done pretty well in some iron sites with the 13-inch coil. It separates really good. And I think you're getting the best of both worlds with that 13. You've got a machine that can hit deep, but you also got a machine that will unmask pretty good too. But I would recommend the 13 after you've maybe covered it with the 9 or with the 11, and then go back and try the 13. Just see what else you find. You just never know. Sharpshooter says, Greeny Meanie, 13-inch deeper in iron infested. And again, it's like Sharpshooter just says it can be, and that's why I said I really don't know. Unmask a deeper target, 9-inch can't yet. Depth of targets is with the reach of the 9 if sitting solo. So, yeah, it's just hard to tell, how it's going to do in that. Joe Dirt. Joe, I'm with you. I do not like, especially during the summer when it's hot, I don't want to dig a deep hole. So, yeah, I'm with you 100%. Thank you so much. Wisco to Texas. Thanks, Teach, for the live. Hit that like button. Thank you, Wisco, for being here tonight. Appreciate you so much. Right, and Michael and I have talked about this. The 13 really locks in on targets really good. Better than I would have ever expected to. So, yeah, the 13-inch coil does a great job locking in and holding a real steady ID. And I saw that with the 13-inch coil. So, anyway, Sharpshooter says, go and look at some of my videos comparing 9 and 11-inch coils. When I elevate just bottle top high, notice how the 9-inch then performs. And Sharpshooter did make a lot of videos sort of comparing these coils. And I think Sharpshooter and I are on the same page as far as that goes. We know that you can go back to all these different sites and you can hunt them. If you hunted them one way with one coil and then you come back with another coil, more than likely you're going to find something with that other coil that you missed with that 9 or with that 11 or with the 13. It can go both ways. And that's the great thing about having these options, that you do have all these different coil selections to use. So Brad says, got to go. Yeah, we're getting ready to get off, Brad, but thank you so much for being here tonight. Okay, that's my live for tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing Dan dig that gun. Hopefully you enjoyed the talk about the XP Deus II the update with that, some of those settings, some of the programs I'm using. I know there was a side comment I probably missed. If I missed some of your comments, guys, it's not because I'm ignoring you. It's just we got so many people in here, and I'm a single person here tonight, and it's hard for me to read every single comment. But I apologize if I did miss your comment. Believe me or not, I'm not ignoring you. I just probably missed it while I've been talking or going over something. So again, but I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much for being here tonight, being a part of the channel, supporting my channel. I greatly appreciate that. We've got more great content coming this week. I've got a lot of stuff that I've got to sift through, and we got some videos coming. We'll do our regular live stream again on Friday night at 7:30. So you guys don't have to worry about me. Hopefully I won't have an internet outage at home, but you don't have to worry about me having an internet outage, and we'll be back regular time, regular channel. 7:30 Friday night. I don't know yet if I'm gonna have a guest yet, but I might. I could possibly. So maybe we'll have us a special guest on board for Friday night. But again, I appreciate all the donations. Thank you to Sharpshooter and Prospectors Cash, and there might have been somebody else, but thank you guys for the donations. I really appreciate it. That goes straight back to the channel. And it's been a great and fantastic night. Hopefully you had a great weekend spending time with families. Hopefully you got enough time maybe to go out and detect. Maybe some of you had some great finds. Don't hesitate to share finds too, on my videos. I love hearing what you guys are finding. I love hearing what you guys are using too. So don't hesitate to share any of that stuff as well. That's always great to see, great to hear. Love hearing from you guys. We got the best community out here. A lot of information passed. I've got some great guys in this on this channel that love to share information. Sharpshooter's one of them. Michael Coley's one of them. Calabash, when he's available, he's one of them too. So again, we've got a great community going. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys have a fantastic work week, and I will catch you guys real soon on the next adventure. Take care, guys. We'll see you soon.